All right, are we ready to rock?
Yes, we are.
Okay, 3. Oh, are we 103? Yes, we are, aren't we? 103. Number
Yes.
103.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Phew. I just suddenly, as I started launching into it, I was just like, hang on, are we?
Hang on.
Right. 3, 2, 1. This is Trainer Talk, the podcast, brought to you by Sharon Gaskin of the Trainers Training Company and me, Jeanette Tessier of the Get That Gang. In our weekly show, we cover news and views from our businesses along with a top-of-mind topic. Of course, it wouldn't be Trainer Talk, the podcast, without the Dog Walking Digest, and every now and again we invite a guest along to share their experience and expertise. After 90 episodes of just audio, we're now on YouTube as well. So feel free to catch up there. Just search for the Trainers Training Company or the Get That Gang, or download us on audio only through your favourite podcast streamer. So why not sit back with a cuppa, make that journey or chore go a little bit quicker with our weekly inspiration for developing your training business. Welcome. This is Trainer Talk, the podcast, and we're at episode number 103. Yes, we are, definitely 103. That's the one we're at. We just had a little discussion about what number are we on now, because frankly, once you get past 100, it's just...
It all merges
into one. Anyway, how you doing, Sharon? How's life? How's tricks?
Be good, thank you. The sun is shining yet again here. Down on the Swansea Riviera, but you know I've got my blinds up now, so it doesn't matter. So
exactly.
Yeah, but it is a shame to shut the sun out. But
but you know, I think to have you squinting into the camera, it's probably not the best thing, really, is it? And I think we've all done those sort of, you know, contortionist kind of tricks when we've been sitting in front of a window and had sun coming in and sort of, you know, trying to get out the way of the sun and not sort of be squinting at anybody. But anyway, we've talked about your blinds before. You have your blinds. We're not encumbered by the sun from where you are. So what else is going on?
Well, what else is going on? Well, I know, and I've seen that some people in our Trainer Talk members group have been keeping up with the house saga. So I'm going to give the latest instalment because I know everybody's very anxious to hear this. So we have an offer on our house which we accepted. So that took less than 2 weeks to sell that.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is that it has stopped the flow of people trolling round, which I'm very glad about, because that's a pain, isn't it, when you have to keep going out and you know tidying up and all that business. So that's good to get that out of the way, but it has left us with with a little bit of a problem now, because of course we have to find somewhere.
Yes, indeed, this mythical, amazing house that you were convinced doesn't exist.
Well, I've been manifesting though. Yeah. So it does exist. It is out there somewhere. It just needs to appear.
Mm-hmm.
And there's there's a possible that we're actually going back to see this afternoon.
Yeah.
Location wise, absolutely spot on, absolutely where we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Bizarrely, it's just behind the house that we didn't buy, the one we were going to buy originally.
Indeed.
And then, we didn't like it and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually bizarrely right behind it and in a much better location because it's not on the main road. So it's on a lovely, lovely little private road, nice and quiet, all the rest of it. Great stuff. But, it's compromises to be made. It doesn't have the view from the kitchen, although it does have views, but not from the kitchen. It's a bit smaller. We'd have to do it up, all that kind of stuff, etc. And I just keep thinking to myself, what would Phil and Kirsty say? Because I need their help now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a bit like which one is it? The Love It or List It one.
I know.
You've just done your house up, but there's this other house that would also need doing up, but it's in the location that you wanted. I mean, so many different things to think about, aren't there?
Yeah, there really are. And I was just sort of thinking, help. And the thing is, we know, it's always all about location, which is why we want to, go downhill in the first place.
Yeah.
But kind of Oh, it's really difficult. One, because this house has a huge amount going for it.
Mhm.
It's really easy to live in. It's great from a work perspective. I've got my nice office. All these things are just really great. We've got the amazing view. But, it is location, isn't it? And
Absolutely.
it's, and what Kirsty would say is you can't have that down the hill. You're going to have to make compromises,
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. I mean, when we were talking earlier, it's kind of, do you want to be in the view, or do you want to be out of it
Yeah,
but looking at it?
exactly.
And I mean, you were saying to me that it has got views. It's just you have to go outside and up the
Yeah,
terrace
yeah,
sort of garden
yeah,
to
yeah,
see them.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I mean, I think it's considering that was the sort of the location that you both fell in love with down the hill,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I think to an extent, I think you made compromises to go into the house you're in now.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But now you're in there, and now you've sort of done it up and to your interior design spec and all the rest of it. It's like,
yeah.
but it would be so easy to stay here now. So I mean, it's there's always going to be some kind of compromise, isn't there?
Yeah.
Unless you've got a
Unless,
bottomless pit of
yeah,
money, and you can choose to buy wherever you want in the location you want, knock down what's there and build whatever is
yeah,
perfect for you. Then there's always going to be sort of these compromises to make. But I think if you're going back again, aren't you, this afternoon? So
yeah,
go
yeah,
and have a
yeah.
look at it, and like you say, do it with practical eyes rather than emotional eyes.
Absolutely, really, really practical.
Hmm.
So, yeah, and that is the thing, if you had a massive, I don't know, if you had another, I don't know, about another 300,000, then I would be, there's plenty of houses that I would be going round to view for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Oh, it's always the way, isn't it? It's always the way. Every now and again, I do a little search for cottages closer to mum, actually. Just thinking practically from the point of view of, they're both well, she's mid 70s, John's late 70s, and sooner or later I'm going to need to be closer. Is effectively what I'm saying, but it's like, but I don't want to live in their village, so it's kind of what's a reasonable distance, reasonable location. And I'm only 40 minutes, I mean 35 if it's late at night, it's no traffic away from them at the moment, but that's still quite significant. If one of them has a fall or something like that,
Yeah,
you want to be a bit closer. So it's all sort of planning, not for now but for next stage. And just looking at these things, and when you have to put the maximum price in on the property search websites, it's like, how much shall I go up to? It's like, oh, go on, let's put no max and see what's going on.
that's what I do.
And you see some of these places, and some of them, I mean, I wouldn't buy something like that in a million years. Because it's just me and Scamp, and at some point Scamp's not going to be here, so it's just be me. And it's just kind of, okay, do I really need 14 bedrooms? Probably not.
No,
You know.
a little excessive.
Mhm, exactly. But then equally, I mean, you see a 3-bedroom property down in Lilliput, which is the next sort of suburb along from Sandbanks,
Yeah.
and it's like 6 million for a waterfront property.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And you just
Same
think,
here,
oh my
yeah.
word, I mean, and it's nice in that it looks out onto the water, and that's always been a sort of a dream for something like that. But it's like, yeah, but 6 million. I mean, okay, it's 5 million something or other, 6 million basically by the time you've done everything else. And you look at it and you think, yeah, it's okay, but is it really that special? Is it really that special?
Yeah, I have seen houses because I do exactly the same.
Yeah.
I just look at everything, and I have a nosy at everything. And honestly, there are some houses. There are plenty of houses here, over 2 million, 1.5 million. And you look at them, and some of them are just not even that nice.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
think,
yeah.
"Oh," it's like,
Exactly. And they do say, apparently, if you're going to buy there's Sandbanks, Lilliput, Camphor Cliffs. If you're going to buy in any of those areas, you haven't really got money unless you can buy the property, tear it down, and rebuild what you want
oh, Molly.
in its place. And it's just like, oh my word, there's always some sort of building work going
Yeah,
on down there in these
yeah.
massive piles, and you just think, okay, all right, and then you find out people are using it as a holiday home. It's just like, oh,
This is what happens here. A lot of it. That's what I was saying to you just now,
yeah,
wasn't I? amble-like property here at the moment is literally things are just being snapped up within days, and it's really, really moving quickly, and it puts people under pressure. And I think a lot of the time, anything that needs doing up, you just builders just come in, and also people coming from, from London. There's so many people who came out to look at this house were from London.
Yeah, I can believe that.
This is what's happening. People are moving away from,
because
they think they can work from home, and it's like, oh, let's go and live by the sea. And everything is just like fueling the
completely.
It is madness. The estate agents around here must be rubbing their hands because they're doing barely anything other than just sticking it on Zoopla, and next day they've got, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Crazy. I mean, I must admit, I looked when the couple that are in downstairs at the moment, because for anybody that hasn't followed the podcast previously, I live in a converted house, which means that although I've got the top floor and it's lovely, it's 2-bedroom flat, but it's really, really nice size because it's a converted house. So downstairs, I think downstairs is a worse layout because effectively I have the communal hallway, but most of the time they go in and out of their little extension kitchen thing, but they haven't got a bath in their bathroom. There's only enough room for a shower room. There's like this really slim hallway that goes from their lounge area through to the bedroom area, and they've got 2 bedrooms as well, and the bedrooms are a good size, but at the same time I just think the layout isn't as nice as upstairs as mine. But when the couple that are in downstairs at the moment, they moved in November, something like that, and it can take sometimes up to 3 months for the property values to show up on the websites and stuff. And then it came up, was it last week, the week before, something like that, and I'm just looking at it going, oh hello, well that's about 75,000 more than I thought it was going to be because the prices of flats around here have stayed solid for at least 15 years, and then all of a sudden it's gone up. It's like, oh that makes life interesting. And then I'm thinking, but actually I really love living here. It's just, it's the only place I've ever been where the morning after I moved in, I came out of the bedroom in the morning, and just as soon as I walked into the hallway, I thought, oh, this feels like home. And there were boxes everywhere, and there was wood chip everywhere, and it was, I bought it as a doer-upper. Originally, the intention was to do it up and to move on after 5 years. But A, I was enjoying living here. B, the property market wasn't recovering because I bought in 2006, and of course the crash was 8-9. So, it was kind of, okay, well, I'll stay here. And now it's just like, well, it's where I am. It's home. It's, there's too much stuff in here. I mean, we talked about decluttering the other week. There's definitely too much stuff in here, but it's sort of, this is apart from anything, I've got my office the way I want it now, that kind of stuff.
Like me, that's all these things I'm thinking about. Get up now, you see the sun shining, we've got a beautiful view, and I got up, I think it was Saturday morning when I got up, it must have been 5 o'clock to let Jem out, and the sun was rising over the hill. It was just beautiful over the hill, over the sea. And I looked and I thought, really? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, you're just looking at the moment, right?
We are just looking. We are just looking. But the problem is as well for us is because we are literally looking in such a small area, very, very specific, and also we absolutely know that some of the houses will not work. Because you're either looking at something that is too small, no parking, or there's something like massive that we can't afford. So again, it's like it's a tough one. So but we will see. We will see. I tell you what will be funny if we do end up buying this house we're going to look at this afternoon. The first thing we'll be doing is knocking the wall down and putting in the new kitchen and using the same kitchen company. In fact, I might even have the same kitchen. I honestly, because I love it so much.
Yeah.
And it's my dream kitchen. It's the nicest kitchen I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine trolling back to the kitchen people that, oh, we want another kitchen now, different house, same kitchen. They look at us going, what?
Nah, they must work with people that flip properties all the time. I'm sure they do. I mean, maybe not so much in your area because, as you say, the market is just bonkers and all the rest of it. But they must be used to people doing something like that. Right, done it up, living it for 6 months, now we're moving again.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's fine.
anyway, so that's that. So that was a very long, so that's what's happening on the house. Pubs and cafes are open outside in Wales today. Hooray!
Very exciting.
Yeah, we're joining the English lot finally.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So yeah, it's all going to be open, which is really nice. What else have I been doing work-wise, business-wise? We had 2 sessions last week for the Complete Trainer, did we not?
We did.
Yeah, that was really good. So both to do with money. That was really great. So we had Alex Hewlett, our resident money man within Trainer Talk.
Absolutely.
He gave a great session on managing your money, didn't he?
Yeah.
People really loved it and were really, really engaged with that.
Definitely.
So that was great. And then we did a little session on money beliefs, didn't we?
We did. And yes, I mean, we knew in advance that quite a few people weren't able to make it live. But since when has that stopped us? I mean, there's nobody else on this call with us now. Even when we weren't recording the podcast, there was no issue about finding enough to talk about. But yeah, that was a really good session as well, in terms of being able to help people understand where we've both come from, where we are now, and where we're wanting to get to next.
Yeah.
Because I do think there's a tendency, and I don't think I know there's a tendency, because you and I both do it. We look at people who are further ahead than us in business, and actually I would consider you as somebody who is further ahead than me, but both of us have people that we would look at and sort of go, oh right, okay, so that's the next level kind of thing. And yet, we kind of forget that there are people that are on the Complete Trainer now that are looking at us going, oh well, they've got it all sorted. They know what they're doing as far as money is concerned. It's like, well, yeah, I would say probably 90% of the time there's still that 10% where there's something that you go, oh, okay, yes, that's something to work on then. there's another money block, another money belief, or something coming out of the woodwork going, oh, why did I do that? Very interesting. So, but I think the difference is that we are able to look at it from the point of view of having worked through things like that previously, as opposed to never having examined any of our money beliefs or our money stories or the things that were holding us back. And interestingly, I mean, we'll be talking about a sort of a similar subject in Top of Mind today, won't we? For that sort of stuff. But that was a really good session, and I think thank you, lovely Denise, who was there live with us, who's just sitting there absorbing what we were talking about, and able to ask a few questions. But it was great to have her there so that we could get some feedback for is this making any kind of sense?
And money beliefs is something that we can talk about for absolutely ages.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because we know how important it is, just from our own experiences and from observing and working with all business owners over the years, and 2, because we've been on our own journeys with it, for sure, and it's really funny, as you say, some of the things that we think now or do now are just completely different to how they were, even 12 months ago.
Absolutely.
We're just always learning and evolving. And I do find it an absolutely fascinating subject as well. I mean, this whole this whole woo-woo thing and energy. I am just so bought into this. I'm so invested in it. I just totally believe it works. I really, really do. It's incredible, how it does work.
I think
it does.
You and I are both evidence of the fact that there's something there. Even if you don't buy into the whole thing wholeheartedly, there is something there about understanding the flow and energy of money in itself. And I think that's part of the reason why it's so important to uncover your money stories and your money beliefs, because it can have a real impact on how successful you are in your business. So that was a great session to do that. But I wonder how many people would just realise just how important it is to kind of embrace that energetic side of things.
Yeah. You know, absolutely. You should, folks.
Yeah.
So important. Embrace the woo-woo. That would be.
I know there are going to be people listening to this, and I'm thinking of one in particular. Hi, Emma. Listening to this, going, what? Eye rolls all over the place.
No, embrace the woo-woo.
Oh, yeah.
That was that. What else did I do last week? We did our top of mind topic for last week was decluttering, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And following that discussion,
2 weeks ago, but yeah.
Was it 2 weeks ago? Okay. And
last week was overthinking.
It was, yeah. Or maybe, yeah. Anyway, as a result of last week's podcast about overthinking and building on what we did on decluttering, we did a little bit of decluttering and streamlining of our own, did we? Yeah.
Yes.
Which was kind of, talk about putting things into action straight away.
Well, you know, strike while the iron's hot and all the rest of it. But I think it's important to always be thinking. It's important to make sure that you don't lose sight of the fact that, you know, we are spinning lots of plates in business.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how streamlined we think we are still spinning lots of plates, and we just have to keep an eye on just how many plates we're adding to extend the metaphor a little bit further. And I think we've got to the point where you just had too many plates, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Too many plates, too many products, programs, Facebook groups, all the rest of it. And it's been something that's been on my mind for a long time because I was aware of it. So we just had a bit of a chat about how we could streamline and declutter some of those, didn't we?
Yes,
Which
indeed.
we won't say too much about it yet because all will be revealed in the fullness of time.
You're making it sound like there's going to be a big announcement.
Okay, there'll be a little announcement there.
Yeah.
People,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, it is significant, but it's not drastic. I think is a good way of putting it. And it's absolutely, like all, I think, great decisions. Once you've made the decision, it makes complete sense, and you think, why didn't I do this in the first place?
Yeah.
But you know, that's fine. Nothing wrong there. I mean, I've done a similar thing with what I'm doing with the Get That Gang, and I just got an obsession with having things in threes, which we know is you know, super important and all the rest of it. But in terms of the new products and programs and stuff, and it was just the third one just wasn't sitting comfortably for some reason. So it's like, no, get rid. Just, you know, I've kept the words. I've got the words in a document somewhere if I decide to bring it back, but it wasn't feeling right. Here we go, energetically. So
there you go.
I decluttered it.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I always know, I've said this many times on the podcast, that because I am an action taker, you know, I'd like to get on and do stuff. But if for whatever reason I am just not doing it, it's because it's not feeling right.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't even know why it's not feeling right. But once I work out why it's not feeling right, then I will know, and I either decide not to do it, or I just go, oh, right, I can do it now.
Yeah.
And just move, take action.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff around what we talked about last week about the decluttering, that these various things just weren't feeling right. And I was aware that they were just sitting there and I wasn't doing anything with them. And it was because they weren't feeling right. And as soon as I tapped into what it was that was causing that blockage and uncovered it, and I was like, okay, great. I can get on and do it now.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that's good. Really good.
That was good. What else did I do? I had a meeting with Terry, with our lovely Terry Pierce and Mr. Gamification in our Trainer Talk members group, and exploring ways of bringing some gamification into Trainer Talk, which is quite interesting, which I will update you on a bit later on. And also we had a lovely spotlight session with Karen Curitan, our Trainer Talk local leader for East Midlands, and she gave a great session on LinkedIn and how to pimp your LinkedIn profile. Love the title. Great session. So thank you so much for that, Karen. I know she listens to the podcast, so formal shout out for you, Karen. And finally, I launched the memberships course.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing that I, had imposter syndrome about, and, decided to actually, do it because people were asking for it. And and people have signed up for it now. So
I know.
I've got to do it now. I've got to do it, haven't I?
You do. And I know we say this every time. It's like, oh, one person signed up. Well, you can still cancel if you want to. It's like, no, two people. It's like, no, got to do it now. And even after one person signing up, it's like, it's good practice. You must do it. You must do it.
Absolutely have to do it. Yeah,
now you've got some good numbers on there, which is very cool.
Amazing. Yeah, I think we've got, how many? I don't know. We've got 18, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
So the upshot of it is that I've got to do it, but I'm actually really excited.
I was
going to
say you're excited, aren't you?
Yeah, really excited about it. Yeah, it's kind of the feel good factor, because I was going through my first session on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Watch it, which we haven't mentioned. It's the clay court season, my favourite time of year. So I, yesterday afternoon, I was like keeping half an eye on Rafa and, sorting out my, module one memberships thing at the same time.
Sounds like a perfect combination for you.
Multitasking, absolutely. So he was obviously feeling my good energy and my good vibes because he won.
Of course. Well, he is the king of clay. I mean,
Yeah, amazing.
It has been quite extraordinary, actually, how little we've mentioned tennis or indeed Rafa over the last year. Understandably. I know. Pandemic, who needs a pandemic? Anyway.
Well, it has been a little bit, it's just been a bit weird because, not every tournament has happened. A lot of the happen with no crowd, which I can't be doing watching, to be honest. I just can't get into watching tennis with nobody there. There's no atmosphere. It's horrible. But I realised, it was really funny actually watching Barcelona yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
I literally was watching it for about half an hour before I realised they did actually have a crowd there. I was like, oh, there are people there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and there was noise and everything. It was amazing. So, normal services resumed.
Well, there we are. That's good. That's really good. Really good. Very exciting. Lots of stuff going on. Anything else to report from your week?
No, God, it's been quite a week, hasn't it?
Has
we
been.
should have asked.
Well, my week, I mean, I was going to say by contrast, but actually there have been quite a few interesting and exciting things going on for me in my week. Obviously, outside of the chats that we've already mentioned, in terms of sorting out some decluttering for your business and talking about money beliefs and all that kind of thing. I've had some really nice chats with people last week. A few mentoring chats, a few chats with people who are going to become mentoring clients, including one lady who came almost out of the blue from somebody else who, out of the blue, I didn't know he was going to do this, put a post up on Facebook going, hey, you need to talk to Jeanette about online courses. And then somebody booked in. But the reason they were able to book in so easily is because I set up my Calendly link, which I am so happy about. So I've paid for that, and that's done. That's a big tick, because it's so much easier just to send it to somebody and go, right, find your space, which is fantastic. Really is, so that's really good. So very happy about all of that. Got to get a few bits and pieces sorted out from that point of view. I had a client who I'd done a one-page website for her. Then she decided she was going to change her offering a little bit and offer VA services. And then she decided she was going to offer web design in that. And so she was doing a web design course. You're going, oh, you have to take my website down so I can redo it and blah, blah, blah. And I need this. And okay, fine, no problem. And she came back to me this morning and said, no, it's too difficult. Can you do it for me? And yeah, that's fine. It's not a problem. But I mean, I did go back to her and say, sounds like it's an issue with the trainer rather than the trainee, to be honest, because she was saying it's all too much, it's overwhelmed. And she's an intelligent lady. I know she is. Yeah. So, if she's not getting it, and then she explained to me, it's not an in-person explanation course. They've basically done the equivalent of recording a PDF and sending it. To people. It's like, that's not an online course. So anyway, so that was just an aside. That was something that came back this morning. But on Friday, Yeah, it must have been Friday. Was it Friday or Thursday? I can't remember now. It must have been Friday. I was finally allowed to officially announce myself as a certified master persuader.
Yay!
So even though I do still have what's been laughingly called a final exam, essentially, I say laughingly, for some people this is going to be an exam for them. It will feel like an exam for them, but what I have to do is submit a video of me talking to somebody and talking through doing an audit.
Yeah.
For them on some persuasion stuff, and of course I do this all the time for websites and that kind of thing. So I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable with recording myself,
Yeah.
with recording something where I'm talking to somebody on screen. It's all that kind of. So it's like, that's fine. So as long as I have that video done by the end of this week, and obviously sent off by the end of this week, then it's all fine. It's no problem. But we were allowed to release it early, so I've got a nice little frame on my Facebook profile at the moment. Woohoo! Certified Master Persuader.
Well done.
So I think, well, at the moment, what that means is, I'm still in the feeling like I am consciously incompetent. Yeah, that's the thing, because it doesn't feel like I know everything naturally. At the moment, I've got all the tools and I've got everything to go away and learn it, but it's still that kind of not imposter syndrome so much as I don't feel like I've practiced enough with it yet, but that will be remedied this week because that's part of the final assignment, final exam, that kind of thing. So when we get to the point where it's like, I can do it without referring to my notes, that's when I will feel competent about it. But already, I mean, the woman that's running it has given us all a good talking to, so you already know 99% more than most people about this stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, oh, okay, all right, it's fine.
A bit like me thinking about the membership. So when I was doing this at the weekend, I was getting all excited, and I was just like, oh yeah, I can talk about that. Oh yeah, I can talk about that. Oh yeah, and then I was like, I probably know. You say I know more than the people who run the course for sure. But I will actually say, a bit like I do whenever I do a webinar for the complete training.
Yeah.
I'll say to people, I don't know everything about membership. Well, nobody can. Nobody knows everything about everything.
Exactly.
Well, and I'm still learning and I'm still experimenting and trying, and certainly everything isn't right, and but I know.
But that's exactly
on the course, for sure. So
it's exactly what we put on the sales page was, I, as in you, will talk to them about, everything that you have tried up until this point and stuff that you're trying right now, because it's constant. It's as we say a lot of the time, everything's an experiment. So I think it's great. The people that are on it, I think they're going to get a fantastic experience. I think this one has got possibilities for you. It's going to fly. So it's very exciting. So I put a little bit of persuasion magic onto the emails for you, going out about the More Than memberships.
You did, absolutely, yes, you did. You did. Because we have this ongoing banter, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
When I go, all right then, Mrs. Master Persuader.
Pressure. Oh, the pressure. But I think it worked rather well, so I'm quite pleased about that.
Absolutely.
So I can legitimately use it as a case study in terms of, and here's how I've put some of my stuff into effect. So that was good. And then on Saturday day, I did some coaching for a couple of umpires, which is the first time since October. And it's really, it's such the tail end of the season at the moment. It's really only friendly stuff, but because of the changes that are coming into effect for next season, we've still got a few umpires that need assessment to get them up to the right level so that they're slotted in the right way next season. So my coaching was preparation for one in particular who's going to be assessed next week, and he was just we were quite happy to assess him on this match, but because I assess for both Hampshire and South as they stand at the moment, I could have assessed him to see whether or not he was good enough to go up to South, which he absolutely is. But he said because he felt so out of practice, he just wanted a coaching kind of, a service watching, as we call it, for people, because we do MOT watchings for people at least once in a season. We would go and see somebody, whether it's formally listed as an assessment or a coaching, just to make sure they're still at the standard. the panel that we've allotted them to. But this one, he said, not so much an MOT as a service. So okay, no problem. But it was, I mean,
Okay.
it's beautiful. I very, very cold wind, incredibly cold wind.
Oh God, that has
Yeah.
been so
Whew.
cold. Yeah,
But
yesterday. Yeah,
go on.
yeah. And no, I was going to say again for the second week in a row. I was like, oh, I see, and I go on, haven't I read? But no chance. The
Not
wind
with
was
that wind.
like
Oh,
cold
it
again.
really was. It was biting, absolutely biting. So, even though it's brilliant sunshine, I still had the equivalent number of layers that I would have on for a winter match, a proper winter match, because it was that cold with the wind. But what was lovely as well was because we're now overlapping into the cricket season, the cricket
Yeah.
pavilion was open because they had a match on, so we were able to go and get some drinks afterwards, which is something we haven't been able to do for, well, all of last season, because everywhere closed down. All the pavilions and everyone said, no, if you can't get it outside, you can't come in to have anything. So that was quite nice, being able to sort of sit outside in the sunshine and do a debrief with a drink, which was quite unusual. So that was really good. And then on Saturday night, we went out and ate at the pub, obviously outside. But Mum booked a bit late to get into the marquee proper, so we were marquee adjacent.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of a wind tunnel, so she said, bring something warm. So we did. We all wrapped up, and actually the wind died down a little bit, so we were okay. Obviously we had hot food, and it wasn't until sort of the last sort of 10 minutes sitting there that we're thinking, oh, actually getting a bit chilly now. But that was lovely. That was really nice to be able to go out to eat as opposed to eating in. So that it does make a real difference to be able to do
Oh
something like
yeah,
that. So
it does. Did you see? Well, I know you saw it because I sent it to you. But our friends at the Secret Kitchen Swansea, what they've done with their
it's
outside
so
space,
pretty, really, really
stunning,
nice, really nice.
absolutely stunning. Yeah, they're so creative there. They're so good. So yeah, I was like, oh, I can't wait to go down there.
Definitely. See, you'll be complaining about the tourists before long.
Well, indeed, indeed, it's going to be very, very busy over the summer again, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I think
So,
you've got a little while before it gets ridiculous, haven't you? But
yeah, we've only got a few days before, we've got to stop taking jam on the beach.
yeah, that's true, isn't it? May, yeah. God,
I
blimey, I
know.
can't believe May's coming around so quickly.
I
It's
can't. It's
crazy.
just crazy, isn't it? Crazy, crazy,
Let's not
crazy.
go there. Anyway.
Anyway.
We spent quite a lot of time talking about our weeks this week. Should we do our top of mind topic? Should we move on to
Let's
that?
do our top of mind topic. I think you wanted to talk about assumptions, expectations.
Yeah, so it was just something that I thought would be quite interesting for people to think about, and that's all we ever want to do with the top of mind topic anyway, is to give people something to think about and how they can apply it in their own business. And it's just as a result of a few things that people that I've talked to. And also things that I've looked at and reflected on myself over the last couple of weeks, and thinking about it's such a dangerous place to get into when we start using our assumptions as a reason to do something or not do something, particularly when we are putting in proposals or when we're asking for money, or in terms of pricing something, and especially when we make those assumptions because our expectation is that somebody else doesn't have perhaps the budget to pay for something, or they don't have the inclination to do something, or whatever that might be. And the problem with expectations and assumptions is that they are all based on our personal experience, and we put our own filters. So we were talking about money beliefs and money stories. We apply our own filters, our own beliefs to what we're putting out there. And sometimes we actually cut our noses off to spite our faces, because we might not charge an appropriate amount for something or request an appropriate amount for something because our assumption is the other person can't pay it. And in reality, the other person might be sitting there going, oh, blimey, that's a bit of a bargain. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Or price might not even come into it at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It might just be, well, that's just what it costs. What do you mean you've agonized over it for days? Which, I know people do. I used to do that. And I mean, now, yeah, it is true to say. I hesitated there because I'm just trying to make sure that what I'm about to say is in fact true. But now, honestly, when I'm pricing something, it's little more than 30 seconds thinking. It's just, no, that feels right. That's the price. There you go.
Mm. It's almost like, so what you're saying, which I totally agree with, by the way, is that when we have those thoughts, we are basically transposing our money beliefs onto our potential clients.
Yeah.
And another way of looking at it would be, how dare we do that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think we are transposing our beliefs on somebody else, because
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And I mean, it really reminds me of, gosh, was it this year or last year? And I'm in two minds as to whether or not I handled this appropriately. So ages ago, I was asked to add my name to a post on Facebook as people offering website services, right? Now, it must be something in the way I phrased it, or something in the assumptions of people reading it, or I don't know what, but the number of requests I've had from people assuming that I'm a VA offering website services as opposed to a website designer offering website services. The reason for making that distinction is that typically VAs don't charge any more than their normal hourly rate, which in terms of the comparison between what a VA would charge and what I would charge, I'm usually about 3 times the cost. Right. Now, I'm comfortable with that because that is an appropriate rate for the amount of experience and what I do and what I can provide and all the rest of it. If VAs choose to charge their normal hourly rate for the website stuff they do, that's their business. That's up to them. But what I have found is that these inquiries were coming through to me talking about, oh, you know, can you tell me how much it would cost for blah, blah, blah. And I would go back with an appropriate price based on my hourly rate, and they're, oh, that's, you know, very expensive or whatever. Now I can say compared to what, but of course it's compared to a VA and what they're looking for is a VA. So I had one come through, crikey. I think I was going around the supermarket. Anyway, it must have been this sometime last year. And it came through on Facebook Messenger saying, oh, can you tell me, you know, what your rates are? And honestly, I am now in a position where if somebody's opening gambit to me when they're asking about my services is how much do you charge, they can't afford me. Now, I know that's an assumption, but if you're going straight into the relationship with my decision about whether or not to work with you is entirely based on how much you're going to charge me, then you're not thinking, you're not in a value position, you're not in a value state of mind, you're not looking at it from the point of view of what you're going to get, you're looking at it from the point of view of what can I afford. Now, you know, I know that we should budget and think about and all the rest of it, right? But at the same time, from my point of view, is if your first question is how much is it, then you aren't going to, it doesn't matter how much time I spend talking about the value of the thing, if the price is too much for you, the price is too much for you. And because of the number of people going, oh, you're not a VA, in response to me going back with prices, I jumped straight into the, you know, I'm not a VA, and therefore, you know, you might want to look for somebody else. Something like, I can't remember how I phrased it, but it was something like that. To which this person came back and said, well, why would you assume I can't afford you? I said, because I'm not a VA. And my prices are typically 3 to 4 times that of a VA. So it's based on experience. That's why I'm saying this. And it was something in the way that she'd phrased it originally that made me thought, no, you're not looking for what I've got to offer. But still, I look back on it and I think, was I making assumptions? Was I jumping? I mean, she never came back to me after I said my prices are typically 3 to 4 times that of a VA. So, you know, was I right? Was I not right? I don't know. But, you know, honestly, I wasn't feeling it. And I don't, you know, if anybody out there is listening to this thinking, oh, I'd really quite like to investigate working with Jeanette, please don't make your first question, how much do you charge? It's just, you know,
no, I know.
Because I'm not competing on price, right? I know that some of the things I offer are competitive in terms of it's there or thereabouts for what other people charge for the same sort of thing, but it's not part of my business model to try and be the cheapest and therefore win the work. My business model is about, this is my experience, this is the value that I bring, this is what I can do for you, and this is an appropriate amount to pay for that. So you know, I start from value. If you don't start from what you're wanting to achieve, then we're probably not going to be compatible. But yeah, that's taken a lot of work to get rid of my expectations and my assumptions about what other people will or won't pay for things, and how to put this stuff across. I mean, it sounds quite glib now that it comes out, but actually it's taken a huge amount of work to get to the point of being comfortable to say that. And you know, I mean,
Yeah.
tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, I do, and I see this all the time, and you know what's going through my mind is how many opportunities do we miss potentially because of making these assumptions. You know, I hear all the time, you know, when trainers are we're talking about, you know, raising their prices with their, you know, either new clients or existing clients, and you know they agonize for ages, like you say, oh no, I can't do that, and then when they've actually gone to them and asked, they've gone, yeah, okay, great. You know, and they're like, oh, they didn't bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they won't. And how much energy have you actually wasted? And, you know, fair play to you. You've actually asked the question. How many times do you not even ask the question and miss the opportunity as a result? And, you know, and we almost did that with the Future Fit course, didn't we?
Yeah.
We almost didn't run it,
Yep.
because of our own assumptions. Around coronavirus has just happened, you know, nobody's got any money. We were also feeling a little bit, oh, you know, people might be thinking how they shouldn't be charging because there's all this free stuff about, and we agonized for ages.
We did,
didn't we?
absolutely, because our perception was based on the inputs we were having at the time, and the inputs we were having was you had people cancelling memberships, I had people cancelling work. You know, we were in various groups that were talking about people going, oh my God, I've just lost another client. And so, you know, I am not at all surprised that was the conclusion that we came to. But looking back on it, and me now and you now, if we could time travel and go back and just go, don't be so ridiculous, you know, take some of your own medicine here, and just put it out there, because you don't know. And what happened? We had, you know, tons of people signing up. Tons of people signing up. And, you know, from my point of view, my worry, and I've talked about this before, was, you know, it was just coming round to people talking about us going into a lockdown just before I went skiing. And I was concerned that it's like, well, do I do this holiday or do I stay and try and put some stuff on to try and, you know, work out what's going on? As it happened, I ended up putting out some free stuff. But it's funny enough, it was you saying, no, you've got time, it's all right, it'll be okay. Because it was more about, okay, how can I help people get online? And of course, what I was thinking about, how can I help people get online but still not have my business go under, because nobody can afford to pay to go online.
Another assumption,
Exactly. And yet I have never been busier, because the people for whom this has been a real struggle, it doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't think it would have mattered whether we charged or not. People weren't in the right headspace. If they were really struggling because their work had been sort of, the rug had been pulled out from underneath them overnight, they weren't in the right headspace to do anything about it. Certainly not for the first round of Future Fit. But those people for whom, you know, they had either built up a bit of a buffer, or, you know, they had the opportunity and they had the money. It was like, oh, now actually what I've got is time. Because my clients are cancelled all over the place, I now have time to do all these things. So I've not been busier, really, since coronavirus sort of came about, since the first lockdown came about. But we've talked about that plenty previously on the podcast. But you're quite right. We were, you know, really going back and forth on this. Is it going to send out the wrong message if we put something out there saying, you know, we're going to do this, but we're going to charge for it? Because you're right, there were so many people putting stuff out there for free. And then I've seen now in other groups that I'm in, people were getting messages back from people who probably wouldn't consider themselves to be trolls, but it was a trolly way of dealing with it, from people going, I can't believe you're charging for this, when people are going through And it's like, okay, that's the same argument when you see somebody eating as saying, I can't believe you're eating, when there are people starving in the world. It's a ridiculous argument. They are not equivalent things. It's a crazy argument. What they should be thinking about is, okay, that's that person doing that thing. Either they will or they won't get people coming in. Fair enough. It's, you know, there's nothing else about it.
Nothing else about it. And so, you know, I think a couple of bits of advice around that. Number one would be just notice when you're doing that. It's all about the noticing, isn't it? Just notice when those thoughts kind of pop into your head, and what impact that is having on you in terms of your ability to move forward, or not. So that would definitely be the first thing. And then secondly, just stop doing it. Stop making assumptions, because it's not our job to do that. And we can wear ourselves out thinking about all the different permutations and all the different outcomes and the things people may or may not be thinking. And we don't know.
No.
It'd be great if we did know. Wouldn't it be great if we did know? But we don't know, and we will never know.
Exactly.
So just, just stop doing it.
For sure.
Don't let it stop you from moving forward. And, just be open to, putting stuff out there and just see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. And we're not trying to say that it's as easy as that. It takes a bit of work, but start doing the work, because the more that you go, oh no, that sounds a bit difficult to do, then the longer you're going to be waiting to be able to go, actually, it's fine. This is what the price is. This is the value that I bring, or whatever the thing might be. I mean, we've centered a lot on price because we know that's the thing that comes up a lot. But there are other things, other assumptions that you might make, and it's always worth looking for the evidence, finding the evidence, and making sure that you are not inhibiting good things that could come because of the limiting beliefs that you've got in and around this stuff. Anyway, did we do that justice? Was that all right?
I think so. Just a little, Don't want to spend too long on it, but just a few top tips for you there.
Exactly.
So
Dog Walking Digest.
Oh, well, two things have happened with Jen this week. Number one, she's been to the groomers. So, she's not been since October for obvious reasons. And, has had months and months and months of hair cut off. So one, looks, again, half the size as she was before. Two, feels a lot lighter, is a lot happier. And three, looks absolutely beautiful.
Aww.
So that's good news. And then the other side, we decided over the weekend that, I'm sure she's going to be very happy about this, that there's going to be no more plodding up the hill. Because it's just getting increasingly more difficult to, she doesn't want to go out. She doesn't like the lead. She doesn't like going up the hill. It's obviously, a strain for her. Having said that, I do feel that she has got fraud. Her middle name is Fraud, because she does this, and then literally when she gets down to the beach and you throw a stone for her, she's running around. And, it's not as if she can't run. She clearly can, but she's obviously just, not feeling inspired to.
She's allowed to be a grumpy old lady.
Yeah.
I mean, what is she now? 13?
14
now.
Yeah.
So she's allowed. She's
allowed. So we've decided that we've got to keep taking her out for walks, because it's keep the joints going, and obviously mentally as well. It's good of her to go out. So but there's going to be no more plodding up the hill, so we have to find other places that are flat, even if it involves getting in the car and driving to somewhere. It's just got to be somewhere where she can just walk and not just have going up the hill. So,
poor love. Well, speaking of joints and muscles and all that kind of thing, Scamp is absolutely no after effects after pulling a muscle last week. He was in fact fine on the Tuesday. No issues with that whatsoever. But he has got increasingly fussy about taking treats from people around the park. I can't remember if I've mentioned this before. He knows all the people that have treats. And I honestly, he has got the butter wouldn't melt expression off to a T.
Of course.
So he will run up to them and he'll sit in front of them and he'll look up at them with his tail wagging in the background like that. And the number of people that go, oh, but look at him, look at his eyes, like this. The thing is, they will get whatever treat they happen to carry, which is usually stuff that their own dog likes, obviously. They'll get it out and they'll hand it to him and he'll sort of like this and just look away if he doesn't approve of the treat. And honestly, I have never seen so many grown adults cater to the whims of a dog that is just got, he's got fusspot written all over him. He really does. So they're breaking these things in half, and then they're going, well, do you want to try and give it to him? And I go, yeah, all right then. So what I tend to do is sort of go to hand it to him and then shove it in his mouth. So it's like, no, you will eat that. You are not going to be rude. A couple of times he does prefer smaller treats to larger treats because he's got, a Jack Russell mouth, so it is smaller compared to the rest of the size of his body. But sometimes he's just being fussy. And honestly, what he'll do sometimes, he'll take it, drop it on the ground, go, what else you got? And I was like, oh my God, my dog is so rude. So
Diva.
rude. Complete diva. And it's, oh, really? And then the other thing, I think I've mentioned this before, the other thing that he does is that he pretends in the evenings at mum's, he pretends that he wants to go outside, because if he goes outside and comes back in again, then mum gives him a treat. And I'm like, don't treat him. Oh, but, he's my grand dog. Yeah. So now, of course, he's like, well, let's forget the going outside bit. Let's just go as if we're going to go outside, look at it, and go and sit on the sofa and wait for our treat. And it's honestly, he's not daft, that one. But
No.
he's got more brains than he gives away sometimes. But yesterday we found a new walk, which somebody had told Mum about up near theirs, because it's loads of farmland around where they are, and lots of bridle paths as well. So it's good for walks. It's not as good as Queen's Park, I don't think, but it's okay. But we found a new walk, and most glorious bluebell wood. I mean, absolutely gorgeous, but loads of pheasant around. And I mean, it turns out afterwards we think we probably shouldn't have walked through there. There was nothing to say, don't walk through this bit. And we were following a bridle path up to that point, but having come out the other side and then gone down to rejoin the path to go back again, we sort of saw the sign that said private, no right of way. But the bridle path told us so. We think we should have walked all the way around the woods as opposed to going through. But the path was there and there was nothing to tell us not to. So we walked through, and there was all these pheasant, and we'd seen hares and all the rest. So of course Scamp absolutely had to go on the lead, because if he didn't, he'd have run off, and then that could have been anything up to 3 hours before we'd got him back again, because he would just run and run and run. Whereas Copper took 2 steps towards the pheasant and it was like, oh, I can't be bothered now. He's a spaniel, for goodness sake. They're supposed to be darting in and out and all over the place. And he's just like, well, I'll come if I feel like it. Yeah, honestly, daft dog. So yeah, I mean, it was a lovely walk, apart from the wind again. But when we were in the woods, it wasn't that windy. It was lovely. It was really glorious. But yeah, the sight of like this carpet of bluebells, just gorgeous. Really nice.
We've got not only that, but we've got wild garlic as well, which is really
lovely. Yeah,
parks and whatnot around here.
Very nice. Really nice. Very nice. Oh, good stuff. All right. Any more for any more? I think we're done.
I don't think so. I think we have rambled on enough. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good week, everybody, and we will be back again, same time, same place. See you all again soon. Bye.